Hello and welcome to the News Hour on Trust TV. I am Ayuba Ila. Thanks for joining. The Court of Appeal in different parts of the country on Friday delivered some verdicts upholding the judgments of the lower courts. Beneficiaries of the judgment included Ogun State Governor Dapo Abiodun and Kaduna State Governor Uba Sani. On the other hand, Speaker of the Bauchi State House of Assembly Abubakar Suleiman had his election annulled. Here is the report.
The Lagos Division of the Court of Appeal on Friday affirmed the election of Governor Dapo Abiodun of the ruling All Progressives Congress as winner of the governorship polls on March 18 in Ogun State. A majority judgment of 2-1 delivered by Justices Joseph Ihier and Muhammad Mustafa had dismissed the appeal brought before it by the governorship candidate of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, in the state, Ladi Adibutu. The court held that the appeal lacked merit as it found no substance in it and subsequently dismissed it, affirming the earlier decision of the tribunal without costs. Of significance were the conclusions of the court that the onus was on the petitioner to prove that an election was marred by corrupt practices and that the appellants did not so prove. Meanwhile, in Abuja, the Court of Appeal affirmed the election of Uba Sani of the All Progressives Congress as the governor of Kaduna State. Delivering the judgment on Friday, a 3-member panel of the appellate court held that the tribunal acted in error when it depended on inadmissible evidence to order the conduct of supplementary polls in 22 polling units of 4 local government areas, where the exercise was deemed inconclusive. The court stated that a key witness called by the People's Democratic Party during the tribunal hearing merely gave hearsay evidence, as he was not present when the malpractices he alleged happened. The appeal court held that the allegations of deductions of votes, stuffing of ballot boxes, and mutilation of sensitive electoral materials made by the said witness were borne out of hearsay. On the flip side, the Court of Appeal sitting in Abuja annulled the election of the Speaker of the Bauchi State House of Assembly, Abubakar Suleiman, as member representing Ningi Central Constituency in Bauchi State. In its judgment on Friday, the appellate court ordered for a rerun in 10 polling units in the constituency in Ningi local government of the state. Meanwhile, the Speaker has urged his supporters and all people of the constituency to remain calm following the Court of Appeal ruling. A statement by his spokesperson, Abdul Ahmad Bura, said that although the judgment was unfavorable, as a Muslim he believed in faith, thus he had accepted the judgment in good faith.
Now, for some perspectives, we have joining us Mukhtar Suleiman, a public affairs analyst, to comment on the recent appeal court judgments. Thank you so much for joining us on the news, Mukhtar.
Hi, good evening. Thank you so much for having me.
All right. Well, let's get your reactions. Are you surprised at all with the unfolding of events, specifically in Kaduna and Ogun State?
Well, it's quite difficult to actually say if surprising won't be the word I would use, but listening to the ruling that was actually made by the 3-man justices, especially in Kaduna, well, it actually made some sense. Now, it might not sound like justice, but their argument did not err on the side of the law. So if hearsays are inadmissible in court, you have to be able to give first-person account of any place, and you need to be able to prove that first-person account you're giving is a first-person account, because if you perjure yourself, then you are arrested or go to jail for it. So the 3-man justices actually upholding the elections for Governor Uba Sani, so based on what they read out, actually stands in a way with the law. But where I have a problem is, and I've said this several in other forums, is that I am not comfortable with the fact that the courts are deciding for us who should stay and who should leave in our electoral process. I think that's something that we actually need to change. Elections, they say, are the feasts for democracy. So it's the one time that the people should be able to go out there and decide who should be their leaders. I know that there's a post-election mitigation process as required by law, which is not a problem, but is there a fault with that post-election mitigation component because it's being exploited currently. And I don't think that the court should have that final say on who stays and who leaves our policy.
Oh, okay. There are those who argue that the judgments coming from the appeal court in the past few days have been inconsistent. What's your own take?
Yes, I think there's some inconsistency in some of the judgments that have actually been given out by these different justices. It makes me wonder if the law is applicable in different places, because in one place you hear one thing, and based on this, the justices will give their own ruling. And in another place, I don't have a problem with the courts, because the court is the last stop for justice for any common man. So of course we need to be able to respect and protect the court at all costs, with everything possible. But when we begin to hear conflicting arguments about what the law says, conflicting interpretations of the law, then it's actually a big problem. This is why I'm very interested in the electoral reform town hall that the INEC and YAGA is doing next week, and I'm hoping that some of our concerns can be raised on that day, and then we can have some level of argument and agree on if the law should not be ambiguous. Of course, we know that the law does not cover ambiguity. So now that we've already seen some issues, some loopholes, how can we actually make them and cover them?
All right. What do you think about these judgments undermining the integrity of the judiciary, as some people have said, looking at these inconsistencies?
Again, like I said, I'm not even, for starters, the court should not decide outcomes of elections. I don't think that the court should. My position would be, if the court should notice any kind of discrepancy in our electoral process, a rerun should be ordered. It should order for a rerun, no matter what the discrepancies. I know that it's going to have some economic effect, but then again, after that has been done, INEC should also be sanctioned. At this point, I think if I was a politician, an active politician in this last election, I would sue INEC for some. And I lose the court case, I'll give a typical example. When Governor Mutwang was sacked by the Court of Appeal in Plateau State, the grounds that the Court of Appeal used in sacking him was that the PDP had not done their convention rights, which meant that they did not have a party to start with, so they could not field or sponsor a candidate. INEC should have known that based on its eligibility requirement. When INEC wasted state resources to actually host that election, when they knew fully well that there was a court judgment asking the PDP to actually redo their convention. INEC should have known that because they have the responsibility to admit or remove anybody from the race, to say, okay, this person is eligible and this person is not eligible. So I think INEC should also bear some of these bonds. All
right. Well, thank you so much, Mukhtar Suleiman, Public Affairs Analyst, for joining us on the News Hour and sharing your perspectives on the recent judgment.
Thank you very much for having me.
All right. Now, in the meantime, Kaduna State Governor Obasani has applauded the Court of Appeal's verdict, which upheld his victory as the winner of the 2023 governorship polls in Kaduna State. Senator Sani described the verdict as a testament to the strength of Nigeria's legal institutions, a win for democracy, and a validation of the people's will. The governor extended a hand of fellowship to all opposing sides to accept the verdict in good faith, pledging to continue to encourage dialogue with all stakeholders and to maintain an open-door policy to well-meaning citizens. Expressing confidence in the judicial process, he stressed that it was time for all citizens of Kaduna State to peacefully move forward and continue to work assiduously for the people without distractions. And in Nasarawa, the state chapter of the All Progressives Congress has hailed the appeal court judgment that upturned the decision of the Governorship Election Tribunal and affirmed Governor Abdullahi Sule as winner of March 18 governorship poll in the state. This is contained in a statement signed by the party's state publicity secretary, Otaru Douglas, and made available to journalists in Lafia, the party in Lafia. Now, the party in the statement welcomed with excitement the appeal court decision, saying it had brought relief to the people. The political wing of the Yoruba community in Kano have denied media reports that Yoruba in Kano are threatened by the ongoing political situation owing to the appeal court judgment over the governorship election in the state. Addressing a news conference, a former councillor representing Sabongari Ward in Fage local government area, Sheyi Said, the Yoruba people in Kano are happy with the judgment and will always remain at peace with outcomes of court judgments.
The Yoruba community is calm and place their trust in the judiciary. The recent warning by the APC about the potential violent protest should not be taken lightly, as this action may be a ploy to destabilize the state. It is essential to ignore the antics of this impostor and maintain confidence in the judicial process. With me here, we have the image, which I'm going to be making available for you people to see. Where this is the image, and this is the guy under the arrow that you people were interviewed yesterday. Based on this, you can see him with the leader of NNPP, Dr. Rabi Musa Konkoso here. So it's a political forum just to cause crisis.
Meanwhile, Kano Police Command has on Friday warned organizers of planned protests in the state to have a change of mind and sheath their sword in order not to trigger violence in the state. The Commissioner of Police, Muhammad Hussaini Gumel, in a statement by the command's spokesperson, SP Abdullahi Haruna, said it has not received any formal communication from any of the parties about the plan to conduct the protest or gathering, warning that anyone caught taking the laws into their hands will be made to face the full wrath of the law. Nigeria's capital city has been experiencing a surge in crime despite the deployment of state-of-the-art surveillance technology to curb criminal activities. From petty crimes to kidnappings, Abuja, like most states in Nigeria, is growing through a security challenge that, if left unchecked, will upend the stability of the seat of power. In this report, Noel Samson follows the failed surveillance program and the security gaps in the FCT.
Abuja is Nigeria's most developed city and one of the top 5 fastest growing cities on the African continent. With its concentration of power and ever-growing population, security is at the heart of requirements for sustainable development. Over the years, the security of the federal capital has increased with the state-of-art technologies like surveillance cameras, which many experts believe will improve the capacity of operatives to mitigate criminal activities.
Number one, it allows the security agencies to have eyes where ordinarily they wouldn't have eyes. Number two, it allows them to respond to security circumstances where they, for instance, need to respond. Then during investigations, for instance, the incident has already happened and they need to review how that incident happened.
The territory is gradually becoming a hotbed of crime and criminalities, with kidnappings, robberies, and one-chance attacks spiking. Security specialists believe the omnipresence of surveillance cameras will improve the safety of lives and property.
What is lacking, and that's the message I'm going to ask the minister to look into, is to look for ways to get the community buy-in. The security forces are not going to solve the problem on their own. They need the buy-in of the local communities, and to do that, he needs to incorporate especially the traditional rulers and then several leadership components.
Living in Nigeria's capital comes with socio-economic challenges, but security, according to residents, should be a top priority.
The reform of the institutions, the security agencies, and then the people themselves as well, because I think one person cannot just overpower everybody. Even a place where a car snatch is being experienced or something, and then some other persons there actually join their hands to help out, I think it will go a long way stopping it and not just waiting for the security agencies.
Because in foreign lands, CCTV camera is necessary. It helps a lot in terms of to review issues, review like how the things that was, omitted. You could just take it and review and look at it very well and see how it looked like.
Nigeria's endemic security challenges means what is happening in Abuja is reflective of a national security issue, and it will take a holistic approach to deal with it effectively. With proper funding, coordination, public support, and awareness, security may be restored in Abuja. No, Samson, Trust TV News, Abuja.
Jigawa State Police Command has arrested 4 kidnappers in Ringim local government area of the state. Police Public Relations Officer of the state, DSP Lawan Adam, told Daily Trust that policemen attached to Ringim Divisional Police Headquarters led by the Divisional Police Officer recovered some items during their arrest. The items include 3 locally fabricated firearms, 29 cows, 4 sheep, a broken butt of rifle, 1 chain and a Boxer motorcycle. The police, acting on credible intelligence, had also arrested 50-year-old Bashir Muhammad of Yandut and Kawari village, Ringim local government area, who specialized in manufacturing locally fabricated firearms, which he supplied to miscreants operating within Ringim and its environs. The PPRO revealed that police detectives from Ringim Division who conducted a search at Muhammad's residence recovered weapons, including a locally made pistol and 2 locally made rifles. In the course of interrogation, the suspect is said to have confessed to manufacturing so many of its kind and disposed to unidentified persons. Now, 4 Fulani and 2 Bagi farmers lost their lives in a fresh clash between Fulani and Bagi vigilantes in Beji, Boso local government area of Niger State. Daily Trust gathered that the crisis, which occurred on Wednesday at Beji Weekly Market, had created tension among residents of the town. Some residents who spoke with Daily Trust on condition of anonymity said that the incessant banditry activities in the area since July this year was what had degenerated into tribal clash. Residents of Beji told Daily Trust that they didn't find easy with incessant kidnappings and killings by bandits between July and September, forcing some of them to resort to passing night in ceilings of their rooms for fear of being kidnapped or killed by bandits whose activities became incessant during the period. They said that with the intervention of security operatives who began regular patrol of the Beji-Zungeru Road, the situation had become calm in recent times. The Niger State Commissioner for Homeland Security, Bello Mohammed, confirmed at the Nigeria Air Force Base, Mekunkele, during the skill acquisition program organized by NAF, and he said that the government was meeting with stakeholders with a view to addressing the recurring crisis. The National Economic Council has resolved to set up a National Flood Management Council to be domiciled in the office of the Vice President, which will oversee a roadmap for flood mitigation, adaptation, preparedness and response in Nigeria. The Council's resolution came on a day it endorsed special agro-industrial processing zones in 7 participating states in the first phase of a 5-year development plan. Kende Amodu reports.
Floods have continued to pose a growing risk to states across Nigeria, primarily because of inadequate flood planning, unwise human settlements in flood-prone areas, and serious disruption of natural processes. The last 3 rainy seasons in the country have been particularly devastating, which is why the National Economic Council set up a committee to work out a comprehensive roadmap for flood mitigation, adaptation, preparedness and response in Nigeria.
For emergency livelihood support to persons at risk of flood disaster during 2023 rainy season. Secondly, to review existing reports and plans relevant to the mitigation and response to flood disasters in Nigeria, as well as the report by the National Economic Council Committee on Flood.
Meanwhile, Kano, Imo, Kaduna, Cross River, Kwara, Oyo, and Ogun states and the Federal Capital Territory are to be designated special agro-industrial processing zones. It is expected that the program will create 3,000 jobs in the participating states from site construction and a collective 500,000 jobs when production and processing start. It will also improve the livelihood of 100,000 farmers in the participating states with the development of agribusiness MSME clusters for primary processing of agricultural products.
The program is, in a sense, like the name connotes, it's a special agro-processing zone. It's a one-stop shop where we will site it in peri-urban areas, not exactly in urban areas, and where you will have both production, aggregation, and processing.
The council also keyed into the health sector renewal program, which it hopes to finance by a specially dedicated pool of funds to drive investment in healthcare value chain. Decentralized facility financing is expected to help the program improve the service readiness of 17,000 primary healthcare centers and 774 secondary facilities. The aim is to deliver universal primary healthcare free to all beneficiaries.
17,000 primary health centers to be put on a threshold of viability, 774 secondary facilities, that is hospitals, in addition to some tertiary institutions, just to make sure Medicare is brought close to the majority of Nigerians.
At the end of September, the excess crude account stood at well over $473,000, while the stabilization account had a closing balance of 37.597 billion naira. In the same vein, the current value of the natural resource account is 144.683 billion naira. From State House Abuja, Kehinde Amudu, Trust TV News.
You're watching the News Hour on Trust TV. Coming up shortly. Nigerians advised to embrace savings for rainy days as inflation rate increases. Details and more shortly.
Why did you develop this reputation as somebody who is difficult to work with?
I will tell the truth. No matter whose ox is gored, I will say exactly how it is.
This is why I actually sympathize with commissioners of nowadays, where a commissioner sometimes is just a picture. You find somebody, even a cleaner and the governor's wife, can interfere with their abilities.
Even the ministers, there are very many who respected me, simply because I never complained about them. I never went to ask for a favor. Never.
So none of that has happened?
Nothing.
But if it hasn't happened, do you have hope that now another government coming in?
There's no hope.
So you've given up on politics?
I've given up. It's gone, it's gone.
Retrenchment from work is a most hated thing by unions. It's a loss of job, means that is loss of life, in fact, for civil servants at that time.
Nigeria's economy, Nigeria's security, Nigeria's intelligence, this is what the materials we were handling. And I thought government would be very interested.
The reasons why you adopted federalism is not because of finesse, not because you like it. It's because of its functional utility.
We started manufacturing leather since 1958. But the most important thing is that if the system is checked correctly, we won't have where we are now.
If somebody has depression, they may just be very irritable and unproductive in the office. So you find on average already about 1 in 4, 1 in 5 Nigerians already have a mental illness, a mental health condition that needs some form of attention.
No matter how good an economy is, if the federal government goes bust, believe me, everything in the economy is just a matter of time it will go bust. So first of all, about maybe slightly above, below 70% is in federal government securities.
If government has banned importation of fertilizer and states are doing it at the level of governance, but I believe that production and distribution of fertilizer should be left to the private sector.
This is the general multi-purpose card, and it has a chip here. So this chip is about 80 kilobytes. The one that you get from the bank for ATM is just 4 kilobytes. So this is like 20 times.
Thanks for staying with us. You're watching the News Hour on Trust TV. Here's a reminder of our top stories. Court of Appeal affirms Obasani Dapo Abiodun winners of Kaduna Ogun governorship polls. 6 dead as Fulani vigilantes clash in Niger. In other news, Kano State government has screened and reinstated over 9,000 workers from the 12,000 earlier employed by the immediate past administration of Abdullahi Ganduje. Addressing a news conference, Secretary to the state government, Buffer Bichi, said that the remaining number of the workers were either found to be ghosts, underage, and non-indigents of Kano State.
When you employ underage children, junior secondary school kids into the civil service, what on earth are they going to do? And that is why the committee, when you have rumor of people employed with forged certificates, what are you going to do? Allow them with forged certificates to come and wound the civil service? Because they will not help the civil service, but they will rather injure the civil service. And that is why the committee was set up. And to the glory of God, all these allegations were found to be true. Substantial number of the people recruited were recruited without recourse to any regulation, without recourse to any procedure, even without even budgetary provision. It is because His Excellency the Governor of Kano State, seeing that majority of these people are also indigenous of Kano State, and if they are so, those that are so qualified, why can't we correct the mistakes made?
The chairman of the People's Democratic Party in Rivers State, Desmond Akao, has resigned. His resignation letter surfaced on Friday, barely a few hours after President Bola Tinubu appointed him Federal Commissioner representing Rivers State in the Revenue Mobilization, Allocation and Fiscal Commission. Akao, in the letter dated November 22, 2023, an address to the PDP acting national chairman, Ambassador Umaru Damagum, said that his resignation is connected to his appointment. He noted that he has since handed over to his deputy, Aaron Chukwuemeka. Now, in a significant step towards ensuring lasting peace in Taraba State, communities have signed a peace accord following a 2-day peace summit organized by the Taraba Independent Peace Committee, the Kuka Center, and the Secretariat of the National Peace Committee. The summit, themed In Search of Peace, Unity and Reconciliation among Communities in Taraba State, brought together 150 carefully selected stakeholders, including traditional rulers, religious leaders, heads of security agencies, registered youth and women groups, and civil society groups working for peace in the state. After 2 days of constructive engagement, the summit participants reached several key resolutions that includes commendation of the Taraba State government for establishing the Ministry of Social Justice and Reintegration, and a call for the creation of a Taraba State Agency for Peace and Conflict Management under the ministry to strengthen its activities, among others. Activists in Delta State have decried the alleged marginalization of persons with disabilities in the electoral process. According to them, despite the provisions in the Electoral Act, when they decide to vote or be voted for, the process is cumbersome, if not near impossible for them. Jonathan Awayai completes the story.
The call for simplification of the electoral process to enable persons with disabilities participate easily follows challenges encountered by them in the not-too-distant elections in the country. They therefore want those tasked with the responsibility of conducting elections to be intentional about not disenfranchising them through rigorous processes that are not PWDs friendly.
And of course, which also involves you and I, should become more conscious of the fact that life doesn't begin and end with only me. There are people who cannot hear. There are people who may not be able to see, impartial or full. There are people who are inhibited by, mobility, limited by their limbs and all of that. And these people also have a right to live because they also have breath. Now, what are we able to do to make sure that life is really worth living, especially in the third world like Nigeria? when it's time to vote, how comfortable, how realistic is this experience for them? As regards education, for example, in Delta State, there is no special Braille school. So it simply means that if you're blind or visually impaired, you don't have the right to go to school.
Thumbprint doesn't have hand. How would they thumbprint? How would they write? So create this environment so that people with disability can feel as a citizen of a given country.
We receive them and take them along, whatever we are doing in this country. Because for we to marginalize them in this country, I think it is not fair. I advise our leader at least to make sure that at least whatever Nigerians are doing, they should also consider disabled people in Nigeria.
They called on the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, political parties as key drivers of the democratic process and governance in Nigeria to take the lead in encouraging the full participation of the PWDs as citizens with equal rights in all party processes, procedures, and activities. Adding that there is a need for more people with disabilities take on more executive, political, and leadership roles at all levels. They urge the electoral umpire to offer priority voting to the marginalized populations. Jonathan Awaye, Trust TV News, Asaba.
Now, the fifth batch of 50 more graduates out of the 1,100 indigenous students that graduated with first class and sponsored by the Kano State government to study abroad have been airlifted to India for their master's degree programs. The beneficiaries departed Malam Aminu Kano International Airport for Lagos Friday morning, from where they will be airlifted to India. The Commissioner for Higher Education, Yusuf Kofar Mata, said that the students are first-class graduates who were meritoriously selected based on their performance in their undergraduate programs, adding that they will study in internationally competitive areas of professionalism to bridge the manpower gap in the state and across the nation. Now, some residents of Delta State have attributed the rise in gender-based violence in the country to the absence of punishment for offenders. Speaking to Trust TV, they expressed dismay that majority of perpetrators are familiar individuals who continue to abuse innocent citizens due to lack of political will by governments at all levels to prosecute offenders. The report.
One of the most potentially traumatic forms of abuse worldwide is gender-based violence, including physical and sexual violence against women by an intimate partner or others. Although a majority of the victims and survivors are women, girls, and boys, men have also been known to be affected. Those who spoke with Trust TV in Asaba, the Delta State capital, opined that gender-based violence has assumed a frightening proportion in the country.
Being abused by persons who are close to them, who they are familiar with. So they wouldn't want others to hear, they don't want people to know, because of the fear of society in Nigeria. People stigmatize them, like, look at this one who was abused by her own sister or brother or her cousin, for instance. The teenage girl can be abused by her own relative.
Beating up his wife, just a single provocation. You remove his teeth, you beat her to coma. Has been a problem. But Nigeria government has not taken that as a concern.
Your wife is your own body. As it's already said in the Bible that the wife and the husband are one. So seeing a wife and a husband having domestic violence in the house and for allowing the man raising violence on the wife, I see such people as cowards.
While calling on victims to speak out whenever they encounter any form of sexual or gender-based violence, they urge the injured party to continue raising their voice until laws and treaties prohibiting gender-based violence are properly implemented. Jonathan Awaye, Trust TV News, Asaba.
Nigerians are advised to embrace savings for rainy days as inflation rate increased to 27.33% in October from 26.72% in September of 2023. Stakeholders in Yola, the Adamawa state capital, said that the developments have negatively impacted aspects of Nigeria's economic progress, pushing many to the poverty line. Salis Lawan reports.
According to some stakeholders, the current economic realities of Nigerians need to be properly checked, especially for the benefit of peace and development of the country. They said with the high cost of living in the country, which they believe was caused by increase in the fuel pump price, it has become difficult for them to save.
No matter how tight it is, because you know that that is the only thing you fall back at, you must try and save. You don't finish all you have, no matter how tight it is. In as much as economy is so tight that some people don't even have a square meal on their table, you still try and save, because that will be the only thing you fall back to. Who will give you if you don't save? Everybody is tight.
The economic that we are in actually needs service, because we are told that savings is keeping for the future use. And if there's nothing that you save today, that means tomorrow you don't have anything to use. So saving is important and paramount as far as the economy of this nation is all about.
However, some stakeholders emphasized on the need for citizens to be prudent towards their financial management.
They are the people who are going to benefit from savings in future, so that they will be able to use this, inculcate this savings habit to rely on themselves, to even employ themselves in future, because they may be having surplus funds that they can inject into productive uses and create more employment for others.
Analysts have predicted that inflation rate in Nigeria is expected to hit 30.00% by the end of 2023. Salis Lawan, Trust TV News, Yola.
Now time to take a quick break. More news shortly.
Human beings know what is right. If they don't want to do what is right, they will give you 1,001 reasons why they are doing the wrong things.
So they see themselves as conquerors, and other people have been conquered.
When the opposition and the press keep parroting that phrase, government has failed, but we will not be here, hold on, we will not be here, sitting down here, if government has failed.
There has been almost a total collapse of the security aspect, and the terrorists are taking advantage of this.
On that, a country that has about 923 square kilometers of arable land, not more than 2.5% has been cultivated.
Of course, you, the Nigerian citizen, will also have your say via our phone-in numbers on your screen.
The issue of appointment in Nigeria has become more political than doing the right thing for the country.
What NAFDAC is doing is making sure we are safeguarding the health of the nation.
80 million people have been accounted for that have glaucoma worldwide.
The Nutrition Society of Nigeria is laying emphasis on exclusive breastfeeding of our babies.
The rate of kidney disease in children has also been rising, with an estimated 1 in 10 Nigerian children affected.
And that sometimes those products contain things that could harm you more than you would expect. So you would have long-term damage which could affect your health over time.
Intermittent fasting indeed is beneficial.
Welcome back. You're watching the News Hour on Trust TV. President of the Nigerian Senate, Godswill Akpabio, has tasked the management of the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, NNPCL, to seek ways of deepening the consumption of locally produced petroleum products. He also called for the establishment of modular refineries as well as the renovation of existing ones to create a multiplier effect, which will include creation of jobs for teeming Nigerian youths and ensure national security for the country. The report.
The President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, spoke while meeting with the leadership of the NNPC Limited, led by its Group Chief Executive Officer Mele Kyari in Abuja. He also explained efforts by the upper chamber of the National Assembly to end oil theft and pipeline vandalization, which according to him was costing the nation revenue losses. The Senate President revealed that the Red Chamber would partner with the NNPCL in creating legislations that would smoothen ease of business for stakeholders in the oil and gas sector.
And I'm also insisting that you deepen the idea of producing what we consume and consuming what we produce. Imports are difficult these days with a spiraling inflation, inflationary trend everywhere, and the falling naira. So if we can encourage modular refineries and then also the takeoff of the various Nigerian refineries, the Warri refinery, the Port Harcourt refinery, the Kaduna refineries, and all that, it will help us a lot.
In his reaction, the GCEO of NNPCL, Mele Kyari, said the company is working tirelessly to revamp local refining of petroleum products and collaborating with indigenous refiners to ensure that Nigeria become a net exporter of petroleum products. He also expressed NNPCL's capacity to supply petroleum products to last beyond this year and the new year.
With all the ongoing activities and engagements, in support of Mr. President in particular, around how to contend the issue of infractions on our pipeline, the actions of bankers, which I'm also aware that we are engaging the distinguished Senate in making sure that something is done about it to contend it to the BRS minimum, so that we can do two things: restore current pipelines so that we can continue to increase current production, and also restore confidence of investors so that no one will produce oil when he's not sure of delivery of that oil into the market.
While linking the challenges in the sector to oil theft and pipeline vandalization, Kyari said that the country has recovered up to 1.7 million barrels of crude oil following increased monitoring and supervision of the facilities by independent pipeline security companies and the military.
The FCT Minister Nyesom Wike said existing landowners with the Certificate of Occupancy CFO in the territory must recertificate them to incorporate the new features. He said this will cost individuals 50,000 naira and corporate bodies 100,000 naira. The minister, who spoke on a live television program in Abuja, said that the new CFO will now require a national identification number and bank verification number. The minister said that he had been refraining from signing CFOs as he intends to introduce enhanced security measures such as the inclusion of NIN for individuals and BVN for corporate bodies. Now, for more on business updates, let's now join Chiamaka Nwafo.
Gross domestic product GDP grew by 2.54% year-on-year in real terms in the third quarter of 2023. This growth rate was higher than the 2.25% recorded in the third quarter of 2022 and higher than the second quarter 2023 growth of 2.51%. The performance of the GDP in the third quarter of 2023 was driven mainly by the services sector, which recorded a growth of 3.99% and contributed 32.70% to the aggregate GDP. The agriculture sector grew by 1.30% from the growth of 1.34% recorded in the third quarter of 2022. The growth of the industry sector was 0.46%, an improvement from negative 8.00% recorded in the third quarter of 2022. In terms of share of the GDP, agriculture and the industry sectors contributed less to the aggregate GDP in the third quarter of 2023 compared to the third quarter of 2022. The 36 states of the Federation and the Federal Capital Territory, FCT, have an outstanding liability of 1.72 trillion naira to the federal government and budget support facilities. This was disclosed in a statement by the State House in the aftermath of the National Economic Council NEC held on Thursday. Commenting on the state budget support facility as of November, it stated that the 36 states and the FCT each owe the federal government 49 billion 105 million naira 873,326 naira 75 kobo. Furthermore, the statement noted that the federal government had discontinued the budget support loan since July 2023, partly because of the increase in the Federation's revenues. Budget support facilities, BSFs, represent financial aid from the federal government to state governments aimed at bolstering their fiscal operations and enhancing financial management practices. And finally, African countries still face significant capacity gaps in macroeconomic modeling despite the huge strides they have made in terms of forecasting, analysis and effective policy management. A new African Development Bank Group study provides an inventory of models and modeling capacity in African countries and examines their relevance to development realities as the continent faces recurrent challenges. Professor Kelvin Chika Oroma, the bank's chief economist and vice president for economic governance and knowledge management, stressed the importance of macroeconomic models as tools for countries to effectively understand and predict the behavior of their economies. And that's it on Business News. I am Chiamaka.
Now, away from Nigeria, the Palestinian armed group Hamas has released 24 hostages held captive in Gaza for almost 7 weeks, and Israel has released 39 Palestinian prisoners hours after an Israeli-Hamas truce mediated by Qatar came into effect. Among the captives, were 13 Israelis, 10 Thai nationals, and 1 Filipino citizen. Majid Al-Nasri, a spokesperson of the Foreign Ministry in Qatar, said on Friday. The ICRC in Israel and the occupied territories said that it transported the group of captives from Gaza to the Rafah border crossing with Egypt. Now, the Israelis hostages were back in Israeli territory where they will undergo medical checks before being reunited with their families, the army said. They included 4 children and 6 elderly women, a list issued by the Israeli Prime Minister's office showed. Qatar said that 39 Palestinian women and children detained in Israeli jails were released as part of the deal. Now, Israel confirmed 39 prisoners had been released. Let's now take a look at sports updates with Emmanuel Fashemi.
The Nigeria Rugby Football Federation is scheduled to conduct its annual Congress on Wednesday, December 6, 2023. Secretary General of the Federation, Oludare Davis, disclosed this through an official statement from the Federation's Secretariat. The Congress, to be held via Zoom, will include the participation of state chairmen and their secretaries, club representatives, and stakeholders in the rugby community. This marks the Federation's second Congress since Ademola Are assumed office as the board's leader. In a brief period, the Federation played a crucial role in overturning the ban imposed on Nigeria by World Rugby Union, secured sponsorship deals, entered into a marketing partnership with SYDA, and participated in the Paris 2024 Olympic qualifiers, reaching the quarterfinals before losing to South Africa. Despite facing financial hurdles, the Federation successfully hosted the National Sevens Women's Rugby Championship in Asaba, Delta State. The technical advisor of Enyimba International, Finidi George, has urged his players to continue believing in themselves as the season progresses. The champions started the season on a very rough note, but the victory on Wednesday moved them to the 8th position on the table. Goals from Joseph Atule and Chijoke Mboma handed them a 2-1 win over visiting Bendel Insurance. Enyimba will be away to Heartland FC in an Oriental derby of March the 10th this weekend. The head coach of Rivers Angel, White Ogbonda, has stated that his target this season is to lead the team to the Super 6 at the end of the season. The Rivers State-based side defeated the visiting Edo Queens 3-1 in match day 2 of the Nigerian Women's Football League on Wednesday. He also vowed to pick a CAF Women's Champions League ticket to represent Nigeria. Rivers Angels was the first club to represent the country in the maiden edition of the CAF Women's Champions League. And that is it on sports. I am Emmanuel Fashimi.
Now, on a sad note, a former general officer commanding 82 Division Enugu of the Nigerian Army, General Yohana Yerima Kure, is dead. The late General Kure, who was also the GOC 2 Mechanized Division, Ibadan, and Director, Army Special Duties and Plans, died at the age of 82. A statement made available to journalists says that he was a member of the Armed Forces Ruling Council between 1985 and 1987 at the onset of Ibrahim Babangida's administration, and was a member of the Supreme Military Council of Nigeria from 1983 to 1985 during Buhari's military government. Upon his voluntary retirement in 1990, he was appointed Minister of Culture and Social Welfare and Minister of Sports and Youth Development. According to the statement, a wake, keep and service of songs will be held on the 29th of November 2023 at Ekwa Church, Lemu Road, Tudunwada, Kaduna by 4 p.m., while burial will hold on the 1st of December 2023 in his hometown, Kurme Musa, Kachia local government area of Kaduna State. And that's a wrap on the News Hour tonight. You can watch more via all our social media platforms and also on our YouTube live stream. I am Ayuba Ila. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.
From the Daily Trust News Center, this is the News Hour.